you're welcome.
It's dinner.
No, they're for you.
Are those yours?
Recording in progress.
Okay. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. McKee here, Schultz. Here. Bottoма. Here. Varenkamp.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Perfect. We'll go now on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda approval. Anything from staff?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We do have a couple items. We did receive some additional public comments, so those are listed on the dais related to item 8A, and those comments have been included in the House packet here. And then staff is asking for the addition of 10C, which is authorizing the execution of a termination of lease agreements with the EDA related to the St. Teresa project, and I'd be happy to discuss that further. We took some action. The Economic Development Authority took some action tonight, and then the council has this one action to do, and we'll be able to move forward.
Sounds good. And that would be 10C?
10C, yes.
Perfect. Okay, anything from council? Nope. Okay. Perfect, then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified with the addition of 10C.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commission representatives, we have Commissioner Lanterman here from Planning, and we have Commissioner Meister on Parks and Trails, potentially? Not yet.
Potentially not. We do have someone listed with a phone number, so.
Gotcha. Fair enough. That works. Then we have open forum for anything not on tonight's agenda. So Jessica, if you'd walk us through that.
Anyone in the council chambers, if you haven't filled out a public comment card, can bring that up or approach the podium and state your name and address. Anyone joining us virtually can press *9, or if you're joining us on a tablet or smartphone, you can press reactions and raise your hand. You're in council at this time. No one's raising their hand for open forum.
Then we will go on. We have no presentations today, so right on to consent agenda, which consists of items 7A through 7G. Does anyone have anything to pull?
Do we pull D?
Yep. Got that one. Anything else? See some furious reading and notes. Good. Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 7A, B, C, E, F, and G.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then we have 7D, which is a donation, which I will take. I will read here. Yeah, I will take the donation. No, I will read the donation. Definitely not take. Whereas the City Council of the City of Corcoran, Minnesota is authorized to accept donations of real or personal property pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 456.03 for the benefit of its citizens, and is specifically authorized to accept gifts. And whereas the city received an in-kind donation of an ice machine for the Public Works facility with approximate value of $250, and whereas the City Council finds that it is appropriate to accept the donation as offered for the benefit of the City of Corcoran and its residents, now therefore be it resolved, the City Council and the City of Corcoran acknowledges the generosity of Valerie McKee and graciously accepts the donation. And thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. Make a motion to accept D.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Is she related to you?
That's my mom.
Nice.
Whoa, color, thank you.
Will do. We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are done with consent. We will go right on to planning business. We have a public comment opportunity for 8A and 8B, which is Pulte Wolcott Glen, and then the front lot, corner lot discussion.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Anyone wishing in the public to speak on items 8A or B can approach the podium. And then we'll follow up with virtual comments. Anyone wanting to speak virtually can press star 9 to raise your hand if you're joining us on a telephone. Otherwise, if you are joining us on a smartphone or tablet, you can click reactions and raise your hand. So give it just a moment here. Do you want to speak?
Hi, I was here last time and.
Could we get your name and
Hi,
address?
My name is Nara. I live in 6462 Larkspur Lane. I sent an email to the council members, so thank you for letting me speak today, and thanks Jessica for letting me answer the phone. Yeah, so this project, Pulte has shown the number 1.9 as the homes that they can build if they go with a single family home, right? Based on the existing rules. And not one or two lots from their proposal follow any of these existing rules. Pretty much all of them need exception. So they are not given the new number, how many single family homes they can build with the exceptions they are seeking, even for single family homes. Okay, so it's just a marketing gimmick. And there's an opportunity for middle level. So just under the name of saving trees and meeting that 3 to 5 homes, they're pushing this proposal. And the people who are in Larkspur Lane are worse impacted. And the traffic is really bad already in the current state. Someone had, a few weeks ago, had a get-together, the entire lane was filled with cars. If these townhomes come up, where will the people park if they have a get-together? They're all going to come on the Larkspur Lane and Larkspur Court. And the kids are at really big risk with this, parked cars on the side of the street, as well as, all these events, functions that might happen over there. So there's definitely an opportunity for, relooking at the proposal, and this is going on for last 2 years. The people in Larkspur Lane, Ravinia, are in a lot of distress and agony because of all these things that are coming up. If someone wants to come and build homes, single family homes, following the rules, absolutely no objection. Why will anyone have any objection with it, right? The buyer will build the homes and walk away. The property owner sells and probably walk away, right? It is the people who are living there that will suffer for the rest of their lives. So I kindly request the council members to take all these things into consideration before voting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nara.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ashutosh Sinha, and I have a house at 6429 Larkspur Lane. I did attend the meeting last time, but that was over the phone. And this time I thought I should come and represent myself here. Just taking the points from my neighbor Nara, no one has objections to the single family home which are coming up. The only request which we are making here to the city that there were rules and regulations which were followed by the current builder Lenar. The same rules and regulations should get applied to Pulte. So if Lenar knew that the townhomes were coming up, probably in their plan they would have also proposed townhouses. And assuming and hypothetically, they still have constructions to be done. If we go ahead approve this townhome, they may also come back and say that I have still a place where I can request for a townhome. Since you have given exception and there is a precedence to it, can I also build townhomes in Lenar community as well? So the point which I'm trying to make here is that if there are certain rules and regulations which city has given to a builder, it should be applicable to all the builders. Personally, when I was buying the home and when I did a site survey and a site walk with the Lenar representative, I saw that the road is a dead end and I have kids. So that was one of the important criteria for me that, okay, there will be no through traffic on this lane. While I did pay premium for that lot, I spent that money just to keep the peace of mind which I had, that my kid is, whenever she is on the road playing with her friends, there is no through traffic and everyone is known and the neighbors are there and everyone is on the watch looking out for the kids. As far as the current development is there, last time there were multiple mentions of some of the exceptions And the biggest exception they were asking for was the townhome. But during the meeting, it also got highlighted that they are looking for an exception for parking. Now, I don't know all the city rules and the guidance which are applicable, so I don't know how many exceptions are they asking of, small, big. There is no data on that, at least not with me. Probably with the city, it will be there that how many exceptions. And to Nara's point, he pointed out that they are following all the city guidance for only two single-family homes, and rest of them also fall in the bracket of exceptions. Not sure if that is correct or not, but city is in the best position to look at it and decide whether how many exceptions, major, minor, or other things which they are looking for. Last time they said they are saving 400 some odd trees. There is no data that how many trees they are cutting. Because there is a development, they are going to cut down trees for sure. And any development they will be. But I think for the public, it is important to know that how many they are cutting. So all this point kind of relates to the same thing that, okay, while you are considering the request which has come from Pulte, it has to be considered under certain framework. The framework is well defined by the city itself. So just have a look at that framework, just map the request and see what best is possible to be done, whether this exception should be given or not given. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashton.
Mr. Mayor, I'm representing the planning commission tonight. I don't know if you would prefer to have me speak during the public comments or wait until the applicant has had a chance to speak. I'm prepared either way. I just wanted to point that out.
Gotcha. I think we'll go through with public comments, and then if the applicant has anything that they wanted to add, and then we can go to you and then council discussion. That works?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else wanting to speak on this? If you could just state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hi, good evening, everybody. So I'm Soma. I live in the 6417 Larkspur Lane. And I think I've mailed a few of you guys yesterday night when I heard about this exception. And that's the word that I'm trying to kind of come back to, like the previous speakers, of why should there be an exception requested when the city has planned a clear, and Corcoran is known for, you know, a nice area, developing community, and any kind of exception is, I see that as something that we are kind of deviating from what is established, and like the previous speaker spoke, it just creates a precedence to further subsequent you know, what else could be breached from the existing understanding with the community there. So I bought the house similar to the previous speaker, you know, thinking about the individual value of the houses, the residents, the retainment of the value of the house. And there's well documented information that if the concentration increases and then there's more townhouses comes through, the value tends to come down. More than the value piece of it, I have a couple of kids who, like the previous speaker spoke, playing around in the area, and I paid a premium for that lot just because of that location, that kind of a community where the kids are safe, playing around, less traffic, less pollution, less noise. When I saw about this proposal, I was a bit surprised, and my primary question was, why are we even encouraging that? Again, corporates are corporates, cash-driven, profit-driven. I just want to make sure that we are doing the right thing for the community with the understanding that, hey, we are given this, we are assuming some kind of adherence to the city council guidelines, and I wish that will be continued going forward, and that confidence will be there with the Corcoran council to kind of keep that standards, maintain those rules, regulations, that they are there for a reason, and just adhere to those standards rather than giving exceptions. So that's all I had. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Sunay Rangadas, 6441 Larkspur Lane as well. I completely agree with all my neighbors here. I just have 2 points to make. One is proposition of a builder to a consumer when you're buying a house cannot be subjected to change because of a neighborhood development, right? You buy a property because a builder is selling you A, B, C, D. That's why you buy a property. Now, we are here today talking about, all right, that's gone, pack it up, throw it away. Now, there's another builder coming on board where you're impacted through the increase in traffic and all the very points of, my neighbors expressed. The second thing is, I did express my detailed concerns on how this will impact our lane specifically to all the council members via email. I would really appreciate if I get a formal response on how this will protect the interests of our community in our lane. With that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Feel free.
Council members, councilmen, good evening. So I want to start this out. My name is Stanislav Manchak, 6450 Larkspur Lane. And I'm a veteran of the industry, so I understand that that neighborhood had to get developed at a certain point. I understand the person that bought the 3 lots for future profits. I get it. I've been on the other side of it.
Guys,
What's that?
guys, let's not go back and forth on that.
Okay, no worries. But at the last point of the last few minutes of Pulte's proposal, I have emails here and I can pass these around. Paul Johnley is
You gotta address the council.
You could address
not-
us. That's-
Not
So-
the audience.
Paul Johnley is an employee of Pulte. This is from one of my clients and friends of the neighborhood that I addressed twice. These are emails going back and forth of the master bedroom floor being 48 degrees, with Pulte denying any fault, and you guys can read through these if you'd like. You can pass them around. I've spoken twice before, so the points that I've made before are there. The other things I want to mention is the setbacks that Pulte keeps going about, that they're going in a certain amount of feet from the road and to help the look of it and whatever else. Well, they're doing that because of the way that the trees are aligned, and the mature trees are way far set off of Hackamore and 101, and there's no way around their offsets that they're doing. The other thing that they're doing is, they can't move those big trees, so they have to build where they have to build. So the points that they're making is they're keeping the trees and going inland more is because they have to, not because they're doing it out of good favor for the neighborhood. And then the other point is everybody on that 4 corner, including Medina, Plymouth, and Maple Grove, built those homes there, paid a premium price to be on that corner, knowing that the zoning is the zoning. So I understand about Pulte wanting to get those big, smaller lots and get a PUD out of that deal, but I just don't think that that's the right fit for that corner. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stas.
Anyone online?
We do have one hand raised.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can I get an explanation of whatever emails that he has? I'm not sure if it's relevant, but
Yeah, you can see him.
I don't want to see it.
Okay.
What is it?
So I got called out last time because I made a point that Pulte is building products that they're not standing behind, especially in the townhomes. Because the townhomes that they built on 101 and Bass Lake Road, when people wake up in the morning, when it's 10 degrees below zero out, and they step onto a 48-degree master bedroom floor, because of lack of insulation and proper insulation, to get that upper level to the proper above the garages, and denying any faults and any claims for that, so.
Oh,
And
okay.
last time, they called me out, so I brought, and they said that they didn't know of this matter that was going on, but here are emails, and they're
Oh, okay.
well aware of it.
One single request is what Pulte said.
Hang on. One person at a time. Okay. Thank you.
If our person,
Do you want to,
I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to unmute.
I'm sorry.
Never mind.
Go ahead,
We got one more.
Jerem,
We still have people.
if you could go ahead and state your name and address for us?
So my name is Jayampati. I'm a resident at 6465 Larkspur Lane. I purchased my home in 2017, knowing that the neighborhood, including the new development that is requested for rezoning, is zoned as a single-family home. If that was not the case, or if that is going to be changed in 5 years, I would not have purchased the home. I'm opposing the rezoning the neighborhood to accommodate the new the townhomes and the single-family homes for the following reasons. The first, the increased traffic will create an unsafe environment for the children. Second, this will bring down the property value of the neighborhood. Third, the increased traffic and the activities will create a hostile environment to the wildlife and to the resident, in which we paid a premium lot price to have a peaceful neighborhood. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope you will consider, my points in deciding the solution.
Thank you.
We do have one additional hand raised, Ginger. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Ginger Anzalone, and I'm actually one of the Medina residents, 340 Bergamot Drive. And yes, I've spoken at the last couple of meetings, and it was brought up by one of the councilmen at the last meeting that there's a group of us that have been in conversation and against building on the corner. But I do want to say one thing that echoes the previous speakers. We've never been against any building, but like all of the residents that will be surrounding this, we purchased our properties with what we thought was full knowledge of what we would be looking at. When I purchased my property, Ravinia didn't even exist. However, I did know that that was going to be an opportunity that small or single family homes were going to be built there. So I bought with full awareness of what the options were going to be around me and proceeded to purchase my home and live there. To build something that is not what has been originally designed as the plat or the zoning is not honoring what the people, to all the previous speakers have said, the responsibility of what we've been told and promised, or we would not buy, knowing that it was going to be something completely different. The previous applicant was completely different than what would have ever been single-family home. So my point is, we are for single-family homes. We are for the lower density. We're not for what is going to increase a density issue, which then pushes forward the traffic issue. The presenter from Pulte at the last council meeting actually made the comment about he heard the pleas about traffic, and then unfortunately, as he said, things need to get worse and a little uncomfortable before things can be addressed. For instance, a stoplight can be put in and other things. Well, that tells me that you're really not in touch with the situation, because there already is a stoplight there. It's actually a stoplight that's going under reparations now to be enlarged on all four corners, Plymouth, Medina, Corcoran, and Maple Grove, to accommodate the traffic that'll go through there. So that's already an issue that's being addressed. However, it still does not accommodate for the way that you have the outflow of the traffic coming one way onto Hackmore and pushing everything up into Ravinia and causing that to come through those streets and unfortunately, yes, into us in Medina. The presentation 2 weeks ago also really just push on the tree preservation that I've heard previous speakers just speak of. My question for you is that if you really go down there and look from that street, two things to be taken into consideration. The Hackmore Improvement Project, I believe, is at 70 or 75% now, and it will eventually be at 100%. It's going to need to be done to accommodate not just this new development, not just the new intersection being enlarged to accommodate the flow of traffic, but also the other developments that are coming in off of 116. Why that's important is because at the end of the day, those trees that are offset on the north end against the white picket fence are what, maybe 10 feet? I'd like to know what the plan is for all of that tree preservation along Hackmore, with the intent, if you look across the street at the 101 intersection to the east side, and how they've gone through that construction, which I'm sure will be mirrored in some capacity on our side, is going to take out those trees. So what is the long-term plan then? If you're going to preach about tree preservation along the street to provide screening, and to the councilman that made the point last time at the meeting that when you look from the street, you look both directions, you don't see homes. Well, respectively, on the south end of that street, those trees sit off about 5 to 7 feet, and a lot of the area are going to be taken out by that construction. So I beg to differ that there isn't going to be a large adjustment in what that vegetation is going to look like, in particular though on the north end. What is Pulte's long-term plan to accommodate any of that will have to go in as a result of his development, and how that tree preservation is going to be maintained and upheld. Whether they're removed or damaged, there's going to be issues that's going to be incurred. Lastly, what I kind of wanted to bring up is that at the Planning Commission meeting, the townhomes were positioned as affordable homes, bringing in the opportunity for, say, a single mom with some children, retirement people. They were touted as affordable, less expensive. That topic was brought up a couple weeks ago at the council meeting, and a gentleman gave kind of a financial breakdown of what an affordable home would still cost as a monthly mortgage payment. How was that really going to be affordable? And then right then at the presentation, it suddenly switched to where Pulte was saying, but they're going to be more luxury, higher end townhomes, $500,000 townhomes. Unfortunately, you can't have both. You can't be affordable and luxury. So I'm trying to understand what kind of townhome is really going to be brought into this situation. You know, you've got the examples of what up in Maple Grove, and you can go across the street into Plymouth and see a different example of townhomes built by the same builder. What are we really looking at over here? And again, that does affect property values, and I'm sorry, but that is something that is a concern for everybody. And every person on this council, every person in this audience, if this was in your backyard, you would be worrying about that same issue too. My last comment was that the current owners made a plea that they're not wealthy people and they're just wanting to sell a property. And I do respect that. That's what everybody's in real estate for. However, with 3 properties that actually monopolize this whole corner, there's a profit to be made, and fair. We're in America. Everybody deserves to make money, builders included, sellers included.
Ginger,
But let's not-
sorry to interrupt you. We are
That's
at
okay.
5 minutes. If you could
That's
just
okay.
wrap it up quickly, that I'd appreciate
That's it. I just wanted to make a point that we really need to look past what people are trying to tell us and feel sorry for things and look at the actual facts. This is an RSF2 zoning. You're asking for some precedents to be changed, which is going to open the door for every other question to be done that way and every other property. So thank you for your time, and my apologies for being long-winded.
No worries. Thank you.
Mayor and council, at this time, no one else is raising their hands, and we don't currently have anyone else at the podium.
Sounds good. I think we're going to probably stick with just the comments. We don't have the continued back and forth, but appreciate it.
So if council would like, we can
We still-
certainly- We don't have anyone joining us else virtually, so if
Perfect.
you wanted to have either Commissioner Landerman or if you.
Yeah, so I was thinking, do we have, does the staff any presentation, or did the applicant want to?
We don't have too much, we do have the updated renderings that we have. And
Don't we need to close public forum?
It's just public comment.
Just
Oh, we don't need to close it?
It's not a hearing,
Okay.
so we should be good. So if we certainly could go through kind of the outline of the changes that they had. We do have a couple of renderings that we could review. And then the applicant is here if you would. To
Perfect.
speak.
So, Mr. Mayor, Council, just going to keep it short and sweet. The revised plans eliminate the on-street parking bump outs that were recently along Larkspur Lane, and they now provide the required 17 off-street parking stalls for the townhomes within Outlot C, if you're able to kind of circle that, yeah. It's, yeah, like the, yep. The resolutions have been updated to reflect the revised plans. We've provided you with a resolution for denial as well as a resolution for approvals if desired. And Dean Lauder for Pulte is I believe in the audience. Okay, I haven't met him in person. So he'll be able to answer additional questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dean, did you have anything?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me. My name is Dean Lauder. I'm the manager of land planning and entitlement with Pulte Homes. I know that you're more familiar with seeing Paul up here. Paul is out of state tonight, and he asked that I be here on behalf of our application and Pulte Homes and the sellers of the property. So maybe we'll just start with the graphic since that's up. I know that I of course reviewed the council meeting from a couple weeks ago. I understand that there was some conversation about the off-street townhome or additional parking, guest parking. We were able to look at that and maneuver those inside of the townhouse development and off of Larkspur to address that issue or that concern. Just other general comments that I'd like to make, and then I'm certainly happy to stand for questions, is that, you know, Paul likes to say these applications are like threading the needle, and more often than not, that's exactly what they are. What we're trying to do is take into account all of the complexities of a given application. And we're trying to balance those complexities to the greatest extent possible. No application is ever perfect. This one really does have a lot of merits to it. I know you've heard some comments tonight from residents that are concerned about things like traffic, trees, so let's talk about those things a little bit. You've also heard some comments too about the quality of our homes. I find this interesting. I'll just share with you, I don't just work for Pulte, I now own a Pulte home. I just built and closed on a Pulte home myself, and I'm a proud owner of that home. The process took a lot longer than I wished it had due to supply chain interruptions and other kinds of things that of course we are all wrestling with in our current market right now. But I'm very pleased with the quality of the construction, and it's a home I actually live in. I hope that you realize also that as we grow as a division, we're looking to close on 900 homes this year. If the quality of our construction was inadequate, I doubt that we would be selling 900 homes. Last year we sold 600. So that's how much we're growing in 1 year. We wouldn't grow at that rate if we delivered a poor quality product. Threading the needle, going back to that concept, when you look at this site, there are a lot of unique features to it. And I know at one point the city council was actually contemplating a clustering ordinance and looking at what might be the pros and cons of such an opportunity to develop. And it's my understanding that in that cluster ordinance you looked at, you know, not even necessarily regulating lot width, but looking at how you could, you know, cluster development in ways to preserve as much open space as possible, preserve the natural amenities of a given site, and allow that flexibility, actually codify that flexibility that oftentimes is granted through a PUD. And I applaud that effort in evaluating your code in that respect. The PUD really provides that flexibility. I'm very familiar with PUDs and zoning code regulations. I was a city manager for 23 years in my previous life. So I've sat up at the dais with many mayors and council members, and I've wrestled with all these different kinds of issues that you wrestle with tonight. We're proud of this proposal. We believe that we do a variety of things that are in the interests of the community. I heard that question raised. What are you doing to preserve the interests of the community? Our development is 85 townhomes. It's 44 single-family homes. A typical residence generates 9,000 trips a day. My understanding is you have 500 plus homes in Ravinia.
Say that one more time.
A single family resident generally, on average, generates 9 trips a day.
Oh, I thought I heard 9,000.
I heard that too.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm
I think so.
It's being taped. We got a mess. Gonna really bad.
Thank you for correcting me.
Thank you.
Or catching that. An average house generates 9 trips a day. You think garbage truck, school bus, going to and from work, maybe 2 people running to the grocery store, going to soccer games after work. It's actually kind of staggering. Most people go, I get that reaction just with 9,000 I understand. Thank you, council member. But with over 500 homes in Ravinia, if you think about 9 trips a day, you're talking 4,700 trips a day are generated by that. And so that's a lot of traffic generated by that neighborhood. And it is probably putting pressure on Hackamore. We're proposing 129 homes. So we're generating maybe a quarter of that level of traffic. But we also recognize that we would participate in the improvement of Hackamore Road. So we would help be part of that solution. I just drove it again tonight, and it's in need of some love. And we are happy to be part of that solution. When you look at the site also, we have gone out of our way to preserve a lot of the trees. I believe my boss represented that we're saving 433 trees that are over 8 inches in diameter. There's many other trees that we're saving also. And then we're also planting more in areas where we could have some additional screening. The setbacks to the site are by design. Those aren't just by luck. They are thoughtful, conscious choices. And all of these things have been done in response to the comments and the feedback that we've received from either city staff or you yourselves, the council. So every step of the way, we have really tried our best to make what we believe is an ideal use of the land in a very effective way. We're providing a lot of, we're preserving, I should say, a lot of the natural screening that's provided by the environment to actually kind of create a nice cozy neighborhood there and screen it from other neighbors or the traffic going by. We've received the 75% build plans for the Hackamore Road, so we've actually updated and included those in our plans. We're happy to work with the Public Works Department on that trail that would be on the north side of Hackamore Road to figure out the appropriate alignment to that. And I know that one thing Paul brought up at the last meeting was also looking, I think, up on 63rd and realizing that we have some homes that do come up adjacent to existing homes there. I talked with our architect today. He personally is going to come out and look at that neighborhood and then make the adjustments he can as far as options that are offered to those homes so that those homes will be very reflective of already the existing neighbors there. All being done in an effort to be a good neighbor and to do a good job and to be responsive. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't want to belabor points that have already been made. You do have the presentation. You understand, I think, all the different changes and concepts that we've made with the feedback you provided. And I think we've done a really good job. And I stand for any questions you might have now or even later in your discussion. And we ask that you support this proposal. We ask for an approval on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions off the bat for Dean?
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the change to accommodate the additional off-site parking, am I looking at this right? And maybe staff has to look back at an old map. Did you extend the private street down to Goldenrod? Did you shift those townhomes to the south and extend that street?
No.
Oh, that was a through street before?
Correct.
Okay.
We have a before and after.
Just real quick on that too. You originally had street parking or extra parking along the townhomes along Larkspur, excuse me. And then you moved those, and now there's 17, and that's a requirement. And those are along, I got my own document here.
They're not on road.
No, they're not on the road, but they're in between those townhomes on
Can we get that graphic?
What's,
Give me
working
one
on it.
moment. I was just trying to get the other last meeting's graphic up as well. So give me just a moment.
I think Natalie, you were talking, they went along, what's that road, Jeremy?
It's not a road, it's a private drive.
That's a private
It's on
drive, along the private drive, and then Natalie, you pointed to some down off of Goldenrod also that were added?
Oh,
Or,
No, I'm happy to point them out if that's.
yeah, go right
Is
ahead.
that all right?
Yeah.
So you have parking here, you have 9 stalls there. We did have 10, but they move outside of the setback requirements, so we brought that back to 9.
so here,
We have parking
here.
there, parking here, and we have parking here.
Okay, I thought at one point the pointer ended up down there, and I just didn't see them, and they're not there,
Yeah.
so thank you.
And we comply with code and the requirements.
Example?
And yep, I'm just pulling up the old example, or what, the previous one, this is what was in the packet before, which, so that street did go through.
Oh, it did go through, okay.
It did go through, there just were, the change was the bump out here.
Yeah, so those on-street parking got moved onto the private road there.
Onto the private road.
Correct.
Did you have to lose a townhome to do that, or?
We did not.
Okay, so you didn't have to shift or anything, okay.
And I mean, I empathize with some of your thoughts there. I've had years of maintenance workers that whenever you build a street and it's got a bump out like that, when it comes to snow removal and you're talking about somebody driving a tandem axle truck and trying to clean that out with snow, they get mad at you. They're usually not happy with you if you allow that design.
Are the trees on the north side of the development, on the south side of that pond, are they in the development in question, or are they outside?
Are they currently, are we talking about this?
There or north?
Up, yeah, there, right there in that area.
There?
That's up in the development.
That's in the development? But those aren't allotted to be removed, or what? Because they're not marked in red?
I believe those are outside the boundaries
Those
of our.
are- yep.
development. Some of them are, for sure.
There's an outlot up there with Ravinia. I don't know where the distinct line is, but there's an outlot that encompasses that waterway, and there's like an upland area before you get to the waterway, so I don't.
Okay,
know.
so they're
There's
on
a
that.
combination of trees on both sides.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
What are the challenges with the, having it be all single-family homes?
If it's going to be all single family, for us to follow code and make it 100% single family, we're going to lose a lot of the trees. And, you know, our method, our approach here was to frankly provide a unique blend of housing. This is our 35-foot wide product. They range between 2,400 and 2,900 square feet. It's a unique product that we think is different, and we'll have a buyer here in Corcoran. Our townhomes also are very good sellers for us. We have about 30% of our townhome buyers that are actually empty nesters looking for an HOA type lifestyle. And this particular design allowed us to do the kind of clustering that allowed us to preserve the open space and make the development overall work for us too.
What proportion of the open space is wetland and stormwater versus upland area?
I don't know that I know that right off the top of my head.
Did have a question to follow up on your answer to Councilor Bottom's question. When you said that if it was to be single-family houses only and straight zoning, are you referring to if you were to do by the letter of RSF2 or any single-family?
You know, I believe that we looked at the RSF2, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's an 80-foot wide lot, right?
Yep.
Requirement. In order to build the neighborhood there, we'd have to clear out all the trees, and it frankly just wouldn't, it's not a neighborhood that we would like to offer you.
I think to your point, we've never had a development come in with an 80-foot lot. So my guess is you would have probably asked for something shy of 80 feet. So the more fair question is what would it look like if you would came in with a 50-foot lot or 55-foot lot, like the lots in the surrounding developments? That's really the question I think people want to know.
Sure.
Because there's a sweet spot between 1.9 and 3.97. And it's not 80 feet, we know that. But there's something in there that's probably marketable. And was that considered in?
Yeah, there are a lot of complex questions that get answered internally by our team when looking at what we, can offer on a particular site. And sometimes too much of one product or only one product on a given site is actually not, what really works for us and for a site or for a given development. So, we basically felt this was the best approach for this site.
Councilor Branca?
Mr. Mayor, last meeting, if I remember right, I don't know if we still have the packet. I had done my own numbers, dimensions, calculations. I think I came in single family with 55, 60-foot wide lots would end up putting 86 homes, single-family homes on this, which would take it down to a density, in my mind, was 1.8. And in the packet that was 2 weeks ago, that question was in that packet, wasn't asked by us, and I think the presenter said 1.9 units they would get with those lot sizes. Don't take my word for it, obviously.
80 foot?
No, I thought he figured it or calculated out with the smaller lot sizes, asking for that to go to that, but it just, I may be wrong, but my numbers with 50, 60-foot right-of-ways and my knowledge that I have, which has been questioned a lot this week, I came in at about 1.8 units on a single family. 1.8 units per acre on single family. But that was also clear cutting, the wetlands, the drainage, everything else. Road, a little bit narrower roads, kind of like what Lennar had.
And if I may add to that, Mr. Mayor, I think that, the comp plan guidance for the site is 3 to 5, correct?
Yes.
So if we went to straight RSF2 or even some reduction in those particular lot sizes of that, we couldn't hit that guidance that's in your comp plan, and that goes back to the original comment of trying to thread the needle, balancing all the different things that we have to look at when putting together a proposal.
I would point out that the comp plan also does say single-family. It distinguishes between low-density residential being exclusively for single-family detached residences and medium density being for small lot, single-family detached and attached townhomes or twin homes, I believe, is what the comp plan says. So.
Look that up. There is allowance for townhomes in RSF3, which is one of our low density categories, but correct, townhomes aren't contemplated in our comp plan, even though it does meet the density guidance and for it, so it's.
I believe it's page 46.
Yes, no, I know it is, thank you for that. But that the low density category identifies areas for single family detached residential development at an average density of 3 to 5 units. But I know that, again, in our zoning code, then we do allow for twin homes in our and it's considered a low density because it's that 3 to 5, and so that would be an acceptable zoning without needing a PUD per se.
And that's RSF3?
That's RSF3, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And we have to distinguish there between twins and townhomes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Anything else?
I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any for the applicant. I have questions for staff.
Okay. Then I think, thank you, Dean. Mark, if you wanted to make some comments on the planning commission perspective?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Mark Lanterman. I live at 6936 Oak Ridge Road. And tonight I am here representing both myself, but also the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission and I think that the City Council should deny this application. For a planned unit development, or PUD, a developer is essentially asking the city to provide, quote, flexibility to depart from the city code's requirements in exchange for benefits conferred upon the city. I think that that flexibility has been abused, and really it's more than flexibility. It's throwing away the certainty afforded by our laws. People take comfort in, and this is evidenced by the letters and comments here tonight. People take comfort in knowing that the law is certain, that, for example, a single-family zoning district is what it says it is, and it will remain that way. Instead, the PUD has given more than flexibility from or relaxation of ordinances. It has instead completely eviscerated them, so that they become meaningless, and all of a sudden the certainty of our city code is gone. The PUD has been used as a mechanism to ask for a lot and rewrite the laws for a developer, for which very little is given in return. This mechanism is ideally useful and could serve an important purpose, but unfortunately, I think that the flexibility / benefits analysis has traditionally resulted in the city and its residents being taken advantage of. This case is no different. The applicant has requested extensive rewrites of the city code for themselves. Briefly, they want this council to remove the garage requirements and lot size requirements. They also want to install townhomes where at present they cannot be built. The current zoning is RSF1 single family. This is more than flexibility. In exchange, the applicant promises that the city will receive the following benefits, and this is the nickel version, I want to be mindful of time, that they will preserve wetlands. Well, isn't this already a pre-existing legal duty? That they will preserve or plant more buffers. I'm not sure how that's a benefit to the residents of Corcoran. They want to plant 12 trees. Is that the kind of deal Corcoran wants or needs? 12 trees for removing the certainty of our city code. They'll provide a small private park. How is a private park a benefit to the residents of Corcoran? This is a benefit for the builder's customers and no one else. This shouldn't even be on the list, shouldn't even have made it to the application. And an accommodation of the Hackamore Road on-road trail within the project rather than within the right-of-way. How exactly is that a benefit to the city? I think if you have the scales here tonight and weigh what the developer is asking for and what they're claiming are the benefits to the city, it's a bad trade. As I stated during the Planning Commission meeting, This is the kind of trade that my kid would regret if they made the deal with a classmate. The city would be giving a huge amount of deference to the developer and carving out huge exceptions for them in exchange for not much of anything in return. What residents have written in and spoken about here tonight are also my concerns. I think that this application should be denied. And to be clear, Pulte's statement tonight referencing good sellers, translation, maximize profits, is not justification to rewrite our city code. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Do we have, I think that's probably, what else did I skip? Mr. Hoagland, did you have any comments that you wanted to make? Because last time you requested to speak.
I didn't request to speak.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Okay. Then,
Maybe Mr. Schnell would.
oh, I'm sorry, absolutely, I didn't see you there, yeah.
Bob Schnell, I live in Orono at 1130 Old Crystal Bay Road. We taxpayers of the city of Corcoran since February of 2002. When we moved to Cork, we bought there, the minimum lot size was 5 acres. We lived in this parcel right here, really nice parcel. It was really nice. When our development came, we were approached by parties other than Lennar to buy the property. And Lennar came in, actually after I asked them about it to buy our parcel, they made an offer that was maybe a third. So the notion that we're trying to be greedy and that we are trying to take advantage of people and line our pockets.
You've got to address council.
And make
Yeah,
profit.
please address us.
Sorry. It is that Lennar didn't make an effort to do it, frankly. And so because the rules changed and our 5-acre parcels were now down to something other than that here, we left. We retained the house. We also bought another parcel on County Road 101 from the Jameses, which isn't really relevant to this discussion. It's an interesting thing that the day, 2 weeks ago on Thursday, I received a phone call from the Long Lake Hardware store. A year prior, I had dropped off my chainsaw for service, and the chainsaw I couldn't get parts for it. And so it sat there for a year, and I've been a number of times. And once you know it, the morning before the council meeting last Thursday, I get a call about my chainsaw's ready. Well, this is just like a God thing. I mean, how could it be that we're talking about this project with Pulte, and the whole discussion is about maximizing the trees? And I get a call about a chainsaw. We have the right to develop this property, guys. Some of you, I believe, feel that Lennar should be developing the property. They didn't get the opportunity to do that because they didn't ask. They didn't try to do that. And you guys in the previous council turned down the church. Eaglebrook Church. And quite frankly, the usage of that property that way, you could mince words on it, but the impact to the neighborhood here, probably less with the church than with any other housing development, in my opinion. So, this discussion of people on the other side of the street on, on the Wild Meadows. They have no say in it, in my opinion. The fact that they don't like it, they're not paying taxes. I've been paying taxes in 2002, a lot. I have a say in it. I have a right to develop that property. the Hoaglands have the right to develop this property. In my opinion, based on, and I'm no housing development guy, I mean, that's not my business, I'm in other businesses. But Pulte made the effort to maximize the value of this, to make this project work, to maximize the space that was there, to save the trees. And so what's the alternative to that? Is that to take the chainsaw out and take the trees down so we can get the size lots we want right up on the road? Is that how that works? I mean, this is my property here, so if we were to take down all these trees along here to make room for extra housing, I mean, does that make sense? Do the neighbors there want that? I wouldn't think so. Not in my backyard, right? Nobody wants it in their backyard. I have a procedural question for the council. I reviewed this official conflict of interest document. There's some words in there that make me believe and others believe that there's a potential conflict of interest for Council Member Nichols and Mayor McKee as they are residents of that development. Councilmember Nichols is right here, right on this, right there. You know, not my backyard. So I don't know that this states that you have a conflict of interest. It infers that you do. I don't know if you've read this. You probably have. And so I don't know, is it your plan to recuse yourself from this vote, or?
I think we've addressed that in previous councils.
Yep.
What does that mean to me?
That they have the right to vote.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard. I didn't know that.
And I can speak to that. We've conferred with the city attorney on this matter.
Okay.
He's reviewed it.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm kind of stumbling along here. We have the right to develop this property. And this plan seems to get it done. And I just feel that we have some momentum against this with people that live out of the city. I just don't understand how anybody from Medina can have any say in any of it. And when the people in Lennar built their homes there, you know, I didn't bitch about them building the homes the way they did. I didn't say a peep about it. I mean, that's the way it worked out. I mean, Ebert had the opportunity to sell his property and develop it. He just happened to do it with Lennar. And I know there were a bunch of fits and starts with that. A lot of warring going on. And so, it's disappointing to think that we have people outside the development, we have people next door who are concerned that having this kind of a development here is going to impact their lives in a meaningful way. I just don't buy it. And with that, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is, Greg?
I am Greg Hogan at 19220 Hackamore Road. I just want to clarify a couple comments that have been made about my wife and I, that especially on buying neighboring properties. The reason the Hoaglands bought a couple neighboring properties, if you know anything about developers, okay, they came in here and bought to the side of my house, okay, and they were in my neighbor's yard on the east side talking to them about buying their house. So if I didn't buy a couple of the neighboring properties, there would be at least, I have one road aimed at my house.
You gotta address
Make
us.
sure to address us.
I have one road 20 feet from my house, so if I didn't buy the neighboring properties, everything you guys have been talking about, saving trees, what have you, traffic, what have you, it would have all been gone. And I cannot help if you went to a Lennar open house and they had a fake ghost plot and sold you that they own this property. They never owned this property. And to Bob's point, they never offered us any money. In fact, they produced not one, not two, but 3 fraudulent purchase agreements indicating to the Corcoran City Council that they had offered Greg and Jackie offers on their house. Who does that in business? It's disgusting that they come up here and defame me and my wife that they've offered us purchase agreements for my house. I would know that. So I want to go on record for the people that are out there saying that I'm a greedy landowner. No, I did it to save my family from having 5 roads aimed at all sides of me, okay? Secondly, for the people that are really passionate, the NIMBYs, the not in my backyard people that are up here talking about saving trees, do you have any idea what was on the 40 and the 80 acres and the other 80 acres that you bought into before that was here? I've been here for 23 years. Do you know how many trees were slaughtered to put up Lennar development? It's nobody talks about that. Secondly, do you know how much, there was no traffic on this road before you all came. Could we talk about that? How many cars have come down this road as a result of 1,000 homes to the west of me being approved? 1,000 homes that you bought into the Lennar development. And you want, then you have the gall, the NIMBYs, to say I'd like to have a rural character, right? There was a rural character before you came here. And then because you buy your house 2 years later, you want to tell us that of how we want to save the trees and what have you. Talk about hypocrisy. It's unbelievable, okay? So we went through this. Lastly, from a council standpoint, many of the comments that you're making to Pulte could have been addressed back in November. They came here with a concept plan. They took feedback from you, okay? You asked them to do this. They didn't do that. And they're a respected developer in the city of Corcoran. They own Del Webb. How many fine homes have they built in the city of Corcoran? And to have somebody defame them up here that they have built lousy houses, it's not true. We chose Pulte. You gave them feedback to do this. They've invested close to $500,000 based on this feedback. And my wife and I are sitting here again, once again, deciding if we're going to move or not. And if you want to, if you're going to go through this round 3, I can guarantee you it's going to be fun, okay? And what I mean by that, the city council better be decisive, not Willy Wonka back in November saying, well, maybe move some things and then sheepishly slow walk the thing into June to make a decision on this thing. There's lives here that are in limbo. And my point is, and finally, all the people here, I have personally, with 16 phases of Ravinia and 5 phases of Tavara, there's both a city council meeting and a planning commission meeting. There's been at least 40 meetings, okay, and I've never heard one resident write a letter, stand up here, or attend, or make any discussion about roads, trees, what have you. I urge you guys, if you're so passionate about the city council, get involved up here, because I haven't heard you up till this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that will be it for comments. Council discussion and questions for staff?
Can we address some of the questions that were raised in some of the comment? There was one comment about lying on a dead-end road, and Larkspur Lane is not a dead-end road. Should have had a sign up there a long time ago that this will be a future through street, right? We implemented that a long time ago.
Larkspur Road, the cul-de-sac, there's 2 parts of
Yep.
Larkspur Road was always a through street. Larkspur Court obviously is a cul-de-sac, but
Yep.
that sign has been posted.
And it's been there for years.
since the development was built, yeah, before any homes were built.
Good point out.
Were there any other questions?
Can
that-
you have that exhibit about density, can you share that?
Give me just one moment. Pull that up here. Oh, give me just 1 second to get this zoomed in. Okay. And are you wanting to look at,
So the proposed development is down towards the bottom, right, at 3.93,
And 7.
or 97, sorry. And if you go to the top, back to Ravinia, the original pre-development was 3.3, but if you look at that, there's actually, if you look at the actual developed within, there are some that are as high as 7, some in the 4s.
yes.
So on a, on a density basis, this development will have less density than some areas of Ravinia.
Yeah, yes, this is based on the plat monitoring, and Natalie,
Yeah,
can you
Mr.
speak to that a little bit more?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, so that's correct, based on the pre-development density. We do expect that it will go up with the post-development density, just because that when you start taking out for wetland buffers and floodplains, that it will most likely increase. The average for Ravinia, when all said and done, is 3.76 units per acre for the entirety of Ravinia.
So do you know where what phases of Ravinia are the 4.27 and the 7.26?
Yeah, so it's the 6.
And the
first-
4.73?
What's the average? Say that again, the average in Ravinia is what?
3.76 units per acre for the overall,
Does-
when you average all the phases.
So how many acres are we talking here? 35?
Yeah, we have about 38, well, maybe it's 35, I'm sorry.
Why does my math say the 3.68, 185 plus 44 divided by 35 is 3.68?
Is it based on gross?
Based on 35.07 acres.
You need 32.3, I think, for the net acreage, taking out the wetland.
So what is, if you take the difference between, what did you say, 3.76? 3.76 and 3.97 and gross it up by 32 acres, how many homes are we talking?
I'm sorry, so 3.9, we're taking the difference, we're
also
timesing it
one-
by 35 acres, is that what
One
you're
is
saying?
pre-development, one's post-development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
32.
I think it's kind of a red herring. I mean,
Yeah.
we should not consider the density number. We should focus the discussion on the housing type, because that's what the concern primarily is. We gotta be within 3 to 5. We can't stray from that by comp plan requirements. But how you get there is more flexible.
But my point is that people bring up safety and traffic, and that's directly tied to density, not to the type of home. A townhome is no safer than a single-family home for one unit. That's all density. So the point that's raised by people regarding safety has to be a density question.
I think we should take off the discussion point of increased traffic and increased safety, only because you could have said those exact same arguments before every single development goes in our town for the last 100 years.
I think the pertinent discussion around safety is probably more with speed regulation.
Yeah, but
Rather than,
we can't deny an application based on speed regulation.
no, you can't, but you could do things like speed bumps. If there's a concern about traffic going too fast through residential streets, that's something we would address differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no difference in safety there between single family and multifamily.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the question comes down when they talk about value. I have no way of saying that the value of a townhome next to a single-family home is going to change the value of the single-family home. I have no anecdotal evidence of that. When I have evidence of where developers are building single-family nice homes in the Wayzata School District right next to townhome developments they're building as well, and they're selling townhomes and single-family homes just as fast. You can see that right along County Road 47. And to some people's point about paying premium for a lot, it's not city council's position to say what you pay for a lot. That's really not pertinent to the information. You may have paid more for your lot because you wanted a certain area. Your neighbor may have paid less because he wanted it across the street. That really doesn't come into play, I'm sorry, in my opinion. So to your point, I understand about the home style. I think that's a valid point to make. My point has to be more about the density of it.
Why didn't you say something when the preliminary plat came out?
Concept plan was in
Sketch
November.
plan.
Just this concept sketch plan came to us in November with a mixture of townhomes and single-family homes.
Yes.
Nothing about twin homes, nothing about size of the townhome, anything like that. I'm sorry.
No, that's
butting in. But
Go ahead.
the other comments that were made at that point was do everything possible, if you could, Pulte, to preserve the screening. From all of the meetings that have been about this and the comments that neighbors don't want to see, they like the buffer, they like all of those things. That was one of the things we asked Pulte to do. On top of it was, is there a way you can save even more of the trees along 101 to buffer this? And if I remember right, obviously I haven't done very well lately, the screening of this property and even a noise canceller all the way across this hollow into Ravinia and stuff. And again, that was the concept plan in November, and that's what we asked for them to do. The other thing, I think a tot lot was in there at one point, but I think that isn't in this plan now.
That was at the direction of the Parks
Yeah.
and Trails.
That was in the direction
That
of
was
Parks
in
and
the direction of
Trails.
Parks and Trails.
So, I mean,
As
it-
proposed, they are planning for open space.
I was at the planning commission, and Commissioner Landerman has spoken clearly about how he feels and how the majority felt at the planning commission when, and it was, if I remember right, 3-1.
Correct.
I think Councilmember Commissioner Shulak wasn't there, and Chair Jacobs voted yes.
Right, well, I
So-
believe that Commissioner Shulak was.
He was on, that's right, he was online, wasn't he?
He voted against, but his vote didn't count because he was not here live.
He was not
Did not.
feeling,
So
he was not
it would
feeling
have been
well that night.
theoretically
So,
one.
yeah. He spoke, but he
He
didn't vote.
spoke, but per open meeting
Yep, couldn't
vote.
regulations, he was
Yep.
not able to vote.
But I mean, I go back to that, is we sat here for some time about a concept plan. It's in front of us, and now we're changing it, I have a
Well,
hard time.
That's the
accepting
question
it.
is, yes, that's my question.
Yep,
So at the concept plan, I gave feedback that I would rather see twins than townhomes. That's been my concern the whole time. We should keep the housing type in line with the underlying zoning. And if we're going to deviate from that, we should see significant advantages to the city for that flexibility. And for Commissioner Lanterman's feedback and the feedback from the Planning Commission, I've yet to see significant value. Jessica, could you please bring up the slides that I prepared? So I put this together over the past week. If you go to number 2, please. Yep. So I put this together to try to...
Wait, what is this from?
What is this?
Is this in the packet?
No.
No, it is Counselor Nichols, or had asked to have this shown.
I put it together after the packet was prepared, because at that point, I didn't know what the changes to the plan would be.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off, but I don't know if we can.
I look at this as his opinion. He's just
Yeah.
expressing it in written form.
Exactly.
so.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So at the Planning Commission, we got the vote that we got. The opinion was expressed by Commissioner Lanterman just now. We've had a lot of correspondence from residents asking for several things. One of them is for townhomes to be removed. When the last meeting happened before council, I was encouraged that the applicant expressed an interest in making some modifications in order to consider the feedback that was provided. However, I was disappointed that the only change that was made after that feedback was to remove the parking bays and didn't deal with the home type question and didn't add any of the public benefits that they've offered in past projects or other developers have offered on their projects. So I put this together to provide more concrete and specific feedback to guide future negotiations. And next slide, please. So.
Can I just interrupt 1 second? Can you just expand on what benefits you saw in other projects?
I'm going to get there, if you can sit tight.
Sure.
Okay. So background, council has set goals for the last 2 years to try to improve our code, to try to get more open space preservation and preserve that rural character that was alluded to by the applicant earlier. We created some code updates that we originally agreed might create an incentive for open space preservation. However, when we came to the point of trying to adopt it, a few members wanted to try to negotiate for open space instead as part of the PUD process. So we set that aside for the time being. Because of that expressed interest in starting to negotiate for PUD benefits more aggressively, especially toward open space, this is our opportunity to do that. So the community feedback we've gotten so far seems to be that townhomes are not desired and has been this way since the concept. We had community feedback at the concept plan level to that effect as well. My feedback has been to minimize or remove townhomes entirely. That has not been adopted at this point in the draft. The Planning Commission, when they reviewed it, didn't see significant public benefit relative to the flexibility that's being asked for. And to quote Commissioner Lanterman earlier, if we choose not to negotiate our PUDs, it's an abdication of our responsibility. So we should be negotiating for some benefit as part of this exercise. Can we go to the next slide, please? So code requirements for PUDs, the intent of the PUD ordinance, just for the benefit of the public. I know we've got a lot of folks who are engaged in this process. So the intent of the PUD district is to provide variations to the strict application of the land use regulations to improve site design and operation, while at the same time incorporating design elements such as construction materials, landscaping, lighting, et cetera, that exceed the city standards to offset the effect of any variations. Next slide, please. The quality of the building and site design proposed by the PUD shall substantially enhance the aesthetics of the site, shall demonstrate higher standards, and create a public benefit that is greater than would be achieved through strict application of the primary zoning. So that's the bar that we should clear if we are going to adopt a PUD. Next slide, please. So this is the table. Staff had the larger version. I tried to boil it down to something that would fit on a PowerPoint, but if we want to look at the Excel sheet, that's fine as well. My point in laying this out is to try to compare the benefits that were offered in other PUDs. And staff was kind enough to put these together. So when Ravinia came in, the benefit in exchange for the PUD was enhanced architecture and site design, adding internal and trunk infrastructure improvements, dedicating land for a future water tank for the city infrastructure, constructing and financing of infrastructure improvements as part of the project, and dedication of additional parkland. We don't have any of those in this proposal at this point. When Rush Creek Reserve was adopted and accepted, that one did actually have townhomes in it. That was changed from RMF3 underlying zoning to a low-density zoning when that plan was adopted in 2014. As part of that PUD, there was internal trunk infrastructure improvements adopted. They preserved 38% of the site as open space that was maintained by the HOA. They preserved woodland, they added public trails, and they replanted 1,620 new trees as part of a urban forest. When Tavera came before council, they proposed to have 24% townhomes. They added 944 trees where 665 were required. They preserved most of the open space, most of the wetlands on the site. They preserved 30 acres of hardwood forest. They provided an opportunity for construction of the Diamond Lake Regional Trail through their development. They constructed at their cost the parking lot in the park, provided off-site infrastructure improvements at their cost to benefit this site and surrounding properties, and provide an entrance monument for the city of Corcoran that some of us don't value, but at the time the council did. Amberley and Bellwether, this was a Pulte development. This one did not have townhomes. It still was able to achieve a 3.6 net density post-development with 44 and 65-foot lots with no townhomes. This one provided internal and external infrastructure as needed to support the development, land for a city well and a water tower site, infrastructure improvements for the trunk infrastructure for a larger development area, enhanced architectural features, and increased amenities for Bellwether residents. And on the Walcott side, we don't know exactly what those development improvements would be, and it's our job today to figure out what that would be. What do we need to see to counterweight the flexibility that's being asked for? Next slide, please. There was one additional requirement that I wanted to reference, 7E in the PUD ordinance requirements. The plan development will not create an excessive burden on schools and other public facilities which serve or are proposed to serve the planned development. We don't have a concrete statement from the school district as to what impact this might have. We should try to establish that as part of our approval. Next slide, please. So the Wayzata School Board just had a work session where they laid out capacities for the different schools that are part of their system. This particular development is in the Ravinia-Tavera green block that you can see in the map above. The elementary school that's served by this particular that serves this particular area is the Northwoods one. That is currently at about 700 students with a capacity of 835, about 84% of capacity. We should just do our due diligence and make sure that they would be okay with anticipated increases should we adopt as part of meeting the PUD requirements. Next slide, please. So the benefits that we've heard, it maintains the wetlands that are on the site, which is desirable. We want that to happen. We value wetlands for the vistas that it creates and for creating habitat for animals. However, it is, to Commissioner Lunchman's point and the Planning Commission's point, it is required to preserve wetlands or provide offsets for them if they have to be removed. But this is a good aspect of the proposal, and I do see value in it. It avoids mass grading. That preserves some of the existing trees, which is good. That also is desirable. But considering the level of flexibility, I don't feel like it's adequate for the current proposal. And then the final benefit, development is sheltered by existing trees. As one of the residents pointed out, the existing wetlands are largely on the border, and that's where many of those trees are. And those naturally tend to increase the setbacks just based upon how the topography of the land is situated. I value it, but again, I'm not sure that it represents a higher standard given that it's pre-existing. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day when we're considering this, the current version of the plan is 65% townhomes. And that's in an area that is zoned in such a way that townhomes are not permitted. If we approve in this case, we should expect nothing but high proportions of townhomes in any future low-density development, especially given the lack of additional benefit. I do value the open space preservation, but the open space that's being preserved is largely wetland and stormwater and is unbuildable. And when we were considering ordinances to try to preserve open space, we limited the scope of that to include only things that are buildable. So we know we're going to preserve wetlands already. We know stormwater has to be put in regardless. So in order to meet that higher threshold, to gain the flexibility of reduced lot width requirements, we wanted to see area set aside that would be buildable upland because it creates a different kind of environmental open space. This proposal, I don't think meets that requirement or that intent. from that draft open space preservation ordinance. And my opinion, and this is just me, as I'm called to make subjective judgments as part of my responsibility legislating from up here, the townhome exteriors, in my view, don't represent a higher quality product. And we're supposed to achieve a higher quality development and aesthetic per the code that I cited. I would prefer to see some changes made to the design to try to make it less disjointed in its appearance. Next slide, please. So in summary, we have PUDs as part of our code. It is anybody's right to submit a PUD application, but what's expected as part of that PUD is to generate a higher quality development than we would see under ordinary zoning. I don't feel that we've achieved that level with this current version of this plan. I also think we should solicit school district feedback before we approve to ensure that those requirements are satisfied. And I would like to further negotiate flexibility versus the benefits. If significant benefits can be offered to support the flexibility that's being requested, great. Let's compare that to what we've done in the past and make sure that that is a good deal for the city. Alternatively, there could be modifications made to reduce the flexibility that's needed. That could also make the deal more likely to be amenable and meet the criteria of those PUD requirements. That's all.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
May I ask Jeremy?
Absolutely.
something? Well, I'll just say, I'm not sure that, I don't know if I agree on the school district side, but, in this case, no development can be put in this location without a PUD, right? Because it won't meet the.
Probably.
So it's,
That was, I mean.
That is staff's opinion at this point, that due to the limitations of the size of the site and the natural features, like it would require a PUD, especially if we want to retain anything on the site in terms of natural features.
And is that because of the minimum density requirement we currently have in the comp plan?
That and the contradictive minimum lot sizes in our zoning ordinance, because they're 80, like it was said, it's an 80-foot width lot, and that simply would not meet the density requirements.
So it comes out of the density requirement?
Yeah.
So like we talked about at the last work session, it might make sense to reduce that because we have a lot of properties that are going to have challenges with wetlands and stormwater and trees we want to preserve.
So I just want to, I hear what you're saying, and I was one that said if we have a PUD, we should negotiate. We have to be careful. In this case, a consideration has to be made that no developer will be able to develop in here without a PUD. So I don't think we want to we don't need, it's not, so it's leverage that we have because of density requirements by the Met Council, and our own code would prohibit them from actually doing something without a PUD. So it's sort of a contradiction. We've made it impossible to not have a PUD, so I don't think we should ask for as much in return for this PUD since it's a requirement. We've made it a requirement to be a PUD from our own code.
Won't that apply everywhere though? Like where would you draw the line on that argument?
I don't know if it, I mean, everything's come in PUD for a while. I don't know if we need to maximize our leverage since we've created the leverage in the first place.
And I'm for changing that minimum density target. I think that would be a smart move for us as a city.
I would be for that only if it was to no cost of ours. For us to change densities and those kind of things, since you and I had a quick conversation just off the record, to change those densities, we would have to have how many public hearings?
It's a massive.
Throughout the whole city, the staff's time to do it. The contracting time to do this and redo all those numbers. There's a reason the previous councils and mayors set those densities. And while I'd love to be able to do it, and I know I said back in November, I'm tired of seeing tight homes and those kind of things. But if this came through, I was for it because of the screening and those kind of things. The comments about park, they're already dedicating how much for park dedication fees, or has that not been determined yet?
I could look that up for you. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can.
You might.
It's in the pack.
Hackamore improvements are gonna be part of this agreement. There's two huge things coming. Parks didn't want a park. They wanted the park dedication fee instead.
Cash in lieu.
Pulte told us 2 weeks ago that the design and everything on this townhomes was nothing with this picture you had up there. They talked about stone was excessive, above and beyond the requirements. The siding was above and, I don't remember if we even compared to the Pulte. I think those were Pulte homes over off across from Hy-Vee. I would absolutely not be in favor of anything looking like that in this area, would not. Pulte even said they'd do a monument sign, they'd make arrangements, they'd set it aside, even if it wasn't part of this development for future. I mean, they've talked about those things. Not to change the subject, but when was, and if I'm going beyond, when was Trevinia preliminary plat approved? And
Trevera?
what, Treveria, excuse me, Ravinia, it's been a long day. Trevera and those townhomes on the south side next to Hackamore was part of that whole development to save numerous trees, actually improve and broaden some of the wetlands and those kind of things. When was that done? And if I'm out of line, I apologize. I gotta figure out a way to compare the two. I still don't know which way I'm going.
It was either 2020 or 20.
It was 2020 for the preliminary plat.
I'm gonna say July.
And I believe, my understanding is that they asked for flexibility on our townhouse standards, Lennar did, whereas Pulte right now is, as you said.
Yeah, but over there was townhomes part of that zoning?
The underlying zoning was
Or not?
RSF3, I believe.
Actually, it was urban reserve, so it was only guided for 3 to 5, and the proposal hit that density. So urban reserve was.
Not even close to comparing to what this is zoned. And then we're not changing zoning, we're just adding the PUD.
Well, we had to change zoning, just to be clear, we had to change zoning, because PUD is a zone in our
Okay,
city code.
thank you.
So we had to rezone. Tavera had to rezone, but they were previously in urban reserve, so the zoning map hadn't previously designated specifically what low-density zoning district it would be, and that's where this slightly differs, but again, it was the density targets that it was.
And over there it was 5 farms, 5 properties, if I remember right?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
4? So I mean, I'm trying to do some comparison, as I tried to do 2 weeks ago. If this would have been part of the Lennar, things would have probably worked out, but we've heard the conversations about no attempt was even made, those kind of things. So we're in a conundrum here. I'm one that, I've been in this. I've seen development come over the hill and towards my home. I've stepped away from making comments about it just because I wanted no conflict, but that was in Maple Grove. And it would have been extremely hard to continue to live here with everything surrounding you like it is surrounding if I were to own all of these and such. It's a piece of a puzzle that.
I think they can get there with twins. I think the right density can be achieved.
We don't need that. We really don't need that. If he could have got there with twins, he would have brought it back with twins on it. That's my comment on that.
Why don't you ask the applicant?
Yep.
I think
It doesn't really matter though, because this is what's in front of us.
This is what's in front of us, true.
So,
Well, if you're trying to make it, if part of our job too is in November and today, how can you get a yes? There's a, if, and not, we haven't even voted yet, but if there's a no and, this is how you make it a yes. Part of our job is to help get to the yes. How do we help push this project to a completed project? And we have to do a better job of that as a council, is giving feedback that's valuable and gets to where the applicant wants. I think that we can get there. I would be curious about the twin home answer myself. What does that do to the equation?
Mr. Mayor?
Please go ahead.
Members of the council, thank you for the opportunity again. We don't offer a twin home product. These are the lineups we have. We've got townhomes, we've got single family. We used to, I think, offer a product like that, but to my knowledge, we don't have one in our current lineup.
When Paul and I discussed it earlier, he said there was an alternative that they could have changed, and I think inserted 18 twins along the Larkspur Lane segment.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I guess, I don't know if I was part of that conversation. I guess I don't recall that, but we do twin homes nationally in other markets. But the reason why we're bringing the townhomes before you is because that's what we offer here. And if I could just dovetail quickly onto the architectural improvements, the picture that was up of the townhomes didn't show stone. We are putting stone all the way around these townhomes. I believe the city code requirement is at least 25%. We're between 30 and 40% as far as stone is concerned. So the aesthetic treatments are very high level, and we comply, if not surpass, the code requirement for the aesthetic treatments.
Do you have any images of those, Dean?
Should have been included in your packet with actual color callouts and percentage of materials.
I saw drawings, but I didn't see a photo that showed the stone.
Jesse was gonna pull
I'll pull the packet and see if we
Thank you.
have that.
And if I could also, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nichols did ask about open space. Maybe your question was more about the breakout. And that's what I was thinking you were asking me as far as wetland versus dry land, basically. So, I don't have that off the top of my head. I just wanted to make the comment, though, that the open space typically in a neighborhood or proposed development is 5 to 10%, and we're talking 29% here. We saw preserving the wetlands to the greatest extent possible as actually a plus. They can be filled in. We end up having to spend money on credits. These wetlands are worth preserving. They're good wetlands, and they're natural features and amenities to the neighborhood, and they're good for our development too, we believe. So that's why we chose to preserve them. So I hope that that's just not discarded as you had to do that by virtue of the site plan, because we didn't. And we didn't have to preserve as many trees. We made a conscious choice to do that because we see that as a value to the design.
In the packet from last meeting, we don't have a photo, but we do have a rendering of what looks like here. So there's
That's not
stone.
as helpful, but.
Yeah, stone on the bottom portion here and portion.
Is stone on the back elevation as well? Is that what it shows?
It looks like there's stone on all sides.
All four sides of the townhome buildings will have 30 to 40% stone.
And that is, meets the architectural standards
And it-
outlined in the code. And exceeds it.
What's the price point of the townhouses?
You know, they'll start about low 400s, middle 400s. They can go as high as 650. They can actually be more expensive than the single-family homes.
That's more expensive than some of them in Ravinia, aren't they?
I believe so.
Well, I would caution, because every builder that's ever came in and quoted us a price has always been on the low end.
A little low.
Yeah, there's no I'm just saying, like, this isn't exactly Section 8 townhouses going in here.
No, I think that speaks to the value of the type of the home.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not inclined to like favor less expensive townhouses.
No, I don't look at them as an affordable home either. I mean, if you're talking about affordability, it's just a different type of home product.
Yeah, I guess.
To meet density, provide a different product to a different market. Just like if you look in Ravinia, if you want to compare it, there's homes in there that have 4-car garages, 3-car garages.
Yeah.
And ones that have 2-car garages that are on very small lots. They're all geared to different markets.
But if you have a $500,000 house or $600,000 house, and you have a $600,000 or $500,000 townhouse, like, that townhouse isn't gonna do anything to detract from anything within the neighborhood. Oftentimes, when you have a comparison of how townhomes impact the surrounding homes, it's because you have a house in a neighborhood of $600,000 homes, and then you have like Section 8, I know there's no such thing anymore, but basically like inexpensive townhomes around that home development. So those are a different sort of buyer, and they have different expectations, and they impact the surrounding neighborhoods. But these aren't low-income townhouses in the middle of a high-income neighborhood.
I think the challenge isn't so much the value, it's the proportion. I mean, the other neighborhoods that we've adopted PUDs that allow townhomes, it's been less than 25% townhomes. And there's been significant open space preserved as a result of that. They did it to get to a point where they could have a variety of lot sizes, variety of home types in the development. This one is 65% townhomes. And once we start down that path, you're gonna have a heck of a time getting anything else.
So what density do you think you'd want to have?
I don't care about the density as long as it's in the range. I would like to see a variety of lot widths, and I would like to see a smaller proportion of townhomes, more like what we've done before.
So if you brought the...
I mean, if you look at Amberley and Bellwether, there they've got 65-foot lots for Amberley and 44-foot lots for the Bellwether homes. And there they ended up at about 3.1 for the 65-foot portion, and I think 3.4, it's in the table, for the Bellwether portions. And there you get a mixture of home types that still gets to the target density without any townhomes.
So if it's 32 acres, and they targeted 96, for example, that's exactly 3. I don't know what the math would be, what that property would even be able to have to meet the requirements, what that, is it
60 single-family lots and 40 townhomes? Like, is that a ratio you'd be okay with, so long as it met the density requirements? I mean, what's your target?
I'd like to see 25% townhomes, like what we've done in the other 2 developments where we've done townhomes as part of the PUD.
So it'd have to be 75 single-family homes and 25% townhomes. But I don't know if I don't know if we could, I don't know if the density, or that size acreage would support 75 single-family homes.
Depends on the.
I don't know the answer to that, it does depend on what lot width.
If you could do one thing for me, Jeremy just brought something up. On the two places that you are talking of townhomes in percentage of in 20%, what two developments are those?
Rush Creek Reserve.
Rush Creek is how big? How many acres was that? Good
question.
It's, both of those developments are quite larger. I would have to look up.
That's what I
but yeah,
mean.
they're
So, I mean,
significantly larger than the
we're
32 acres
not-
we're working with right now.
In my mind, for future, we're not comparing apples to apples here. We're back to what I was thinking 2 weeks ago was, if this was the density, if this came back from Lennar, if they own this, and they needed townhomes to hit the density, all of those things, what's the percentage of townhomes here to compared to this whole development? Well, I can't even do that. This is a 30-some-odd acre. We've heard 32, we've heard 35. This is something that is different. And the developer has done something to somewhat come up with the idea that we had a concept plan, with the exception of the townhomes you spoke of. If you would have had your dissertation that we went through and stuff at the time of the concept plan, I don't know if this would even have changed, but I commend you for what you put together, Jeremy. It's just, we're having a really hard time here.
Well, one thing about Rush Creek Reserve is Rush Creek Reserve removed a lot of trees.
That wasn't supposed to be removed on top of it.
Right, but they're
Yeah.
losing a lot of trees that were in the original plan that were
Yeah.
removed. The open spaces between homes, for the most part.
Commissioner Lanterman, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Could you please bring up Councilman Nichols' slides? I would like to correct the record. Specifically, the slide stating abdication of responsibilities.
Which page is that, Jeremy?
That one.
One right there.
Bottom bullet.
So with respect to Councilman Nichols, I made that comment. And I made that comment when Councilman Nichols proposed abdicating the city council's discretion when his proposal that was voted, ultimately denied by the city council, his proposal was to allow builders all of the discretion as to what they wanted to build, as long as 20% of the land remained green. So you could put a 50-foot garage door on the front of your house if you wanted. My comment was directed at Councilman Nichols' proposal, because I felt that by suggesting that the city council just give away its authority, that was nothing short of an abdication of what your job is. So I just want to be very clear as to who made that comment and what I was specifically referring to. And I was specifically referring to Commissioner or Councilman Nichols' proposal. Thank you.
Clearing that up.
Thanks.
Can I counter-correct the correction?
Briefly.
Briefly. So, what that proposal would have done, it didn't affect any of the building standards. It would have eliminated lot width requirements. And we would have required 25% open space preservation of upland buildable land in exchange for that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but one thing to be clear on that is that never went anywhere.
Right.
Yep.
So, one of your points you made about school district, and I kind of agree with John in that regard, is that the school district's a separate entity, and what their issues are with development is what their issues are. If you look at it, before Ravinia came in, Northwoods and Meadow Ridge weren't even in play.
And Meadow Ridge had to expand before they ever even opened. So what we do for development should already be planned and what the school district's already doing. They know how much land is open and developable in their school boundaries.
Then we should change the code.
We
So
should,
can
we
remove that.
probably should remove it.
I don't actually disagree necessarily that that's something we should look into. I don't know that we should do anything different at this point with that process. I think if we can improve communication with the school districts, that's always good. But I don't know if it's,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to be clear, we do have conversations with them about our comp plan, so they do know what is guided for density in this area. But no, we don't usually have a practice of sending them each proposal. I think past experiences, they'll be like, okay, thanks.
yeah, I think it
So.
depends a bit on the school district. I know I've had
Yeah.
several conversations with Rockford, not so much with Wayzata or the other districts. So.
But it can be an issue in other districts. I know there's a big issue in another neighboring community where there's a large development plan that there is concern that it would overtax the school district. I thought it was nice that we in our code have a plank that we consider that. So that if it is a problem, we have a mechanism to control the approval based on that issue.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, did you have anything you wanted to
Yeah,
share?
you haven't said anything.
I think a lot of mine are the same as what I said last time. I think it's about the extent of what some of the requests are. It's not that it has to be straight zoning, 80-foot, or this. I think that there is a middle ground there that can work. I'd like to see it get to that, but I don't think that this is there, in my opinion, given the townhomes and the amount of townhomes, more specifically, coupled with the 50-foot small lot sizes. I think I could get there with some sort of mixture of lot sizes that may include some small lot sizes, that may include the twin homes that Councilor Nichols mentioned, that may include a variety of things. But I think altogether the ask is too much of a deviation for me.
Too much of a deviation from what?
From what's the current zoning RSF2 and what I guess is in the surrounding, not just in the Ravinia side, but look across the street into Maple Grove and Plymouth on those corners there, what you're seeing in similar developments there. As well as what we've seen with Pulte up in Amberley.
What, across the street?
Not a new development.
Yeah, but what?
On air.
We have to worry about that?
No, I'm just
Just
saying
similar.
those type of developments, I think that's more in line with what I'm thinking of fitting in with the surrounding area. Not that we have a standard that we have to match that.
Well, I think that's it.
You're saying you would
Too far.
prefer to match surrounding developments, but then would be inclined to have smaller lot sizes to fit the density requirements of single-family homes, or?
I'm not saying I would prefer to match those developments exactly. I'm saying overall, if you're looking at what those developments consist of, say, particularly if you're going to I believe it's the Hanson development across the corner, Kitty Corner. There you do see some smaller lot sizes, but you're not seeing smaller lot sizes and townhomes. If you look at the Pulte development down Hackamore in Medina, you're seeing some smaller lot sizes. You're not seeing the smaller lot sizes in townhomes.
You can't make that argument, because you guys just moved into an area that had no houses. And if you would have matched the surrounding areas, you would all had 10-acre lots.
Or 1.5
Who's the
to 2
plural
acres.
there, John?
You two.
I didn't make that argument.
But your point about the Hanson development butts townhomes.
There's
not in that
But it
development.
doesn't contain townhomes.
It doesn't contain townhomes, but it abuts townhomes right next to it.
But they still achieve 3 units an acre without townhomes.
But I think it's kind of hard to say that you'd be willing to look at a change to meet the density by putting in smaller lots when part of the feedback we gave in November is we wanted bigger lots abutting the existing development.